If I could do anything, have any career, snap my fingers, have all the skills for it, and be in that job today, what would I do? Tucker Carlson's driver, Tucker Carlson's assistant, Tucker Carlson's hairstylist. That's actually how this video came to be. Earlier today, I took my brother to get his haircut, and I was called back to a time and place where I was searching Facebook for Tucker Carlson photos, and I found this picture that someone put up. She goes to the same place where Tucker gets his hair cut, and while it is awful whenever Tucker gets a haircut, because that hair is just a glorious mess of just sex appeal, still gets it cut. And so as I was sitting there while my brother got his haircut, I started thinking, what would be the greatest job in the world? Today, my friends, I wanted to be Tucker Carlson's hairstylist. And I can't believe I didn't think of this before. It would be a wonderful job. I would be around that hair, just all up in it. I would get the hair wet, I would soap it, I would wash it, I would touch it, I would stroke it. I would probably get a little bit distracted, in fact, and be sitting there like just sudsing it up, like daydreaming and thinking all of these and like, oh, it's beautiful and you're gorgeous and your head is so perfect, and look in the mirror and he would be looking back at me through the mirror like, what are you doing? It's been 20 minutes and you're still lathering up my hair and you've washed it 5 times and you've blow dried it. I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't get into this. This is not the greatest way to start a video. Alright, so let's get serious. If I could do anything, one thing that I have always wanted to do, in truth, like I said before, was to be a forensic scientist. Before Dexter came out, before he was the serial killer slash blood spatter expert, that's kind of the field that I wanted to go into, a blood spatter expert. But in later years, I kind of thought that it would be cool, because I love watching the ID channel, and the Forensic Files is probably one of my favorite shows of all time. It's the first show that I ever saw of its kind, and of course it's all centered around forensics, and being able to like analyze blades of grass, different kinds of grass, and hair samples, and cat hair, and so after some thought, I really think it's neat when someone invents a whole new branch of forensic science. Like, for example, how they can determine like different kinds of dirt and where that dirt was based on all kinds of different factors. I like to be that person. Someone who says, you know what, we found a body, it had leaves on it, I'm going to tell you what tree this leaf is from, how long that leaf has been there, and how it can only come from this certain area, so therefore the body had to be there, like that sort of thing. I think that's really admirable and neat work. Puff, puff, puff. Oh my gosh, no. That is putrid. That is putrid. Holy cow. Oh, God. Then there's working in a funeral home. Because my dad is a pastor, I have been to many, many funerals and weddings. A lot of the time, I would go to funerals for people that I didn't even know, just to tag along and tell Dad, like, how he did. I think a funeral director, somebody that greets, even a person that works with the body, although that's the last thing I would want to do. I think I'd want to be a greeter. Those are all wonderful things. You get to be there for somebody at a time in their life when it's the most crucial. It's nice to be able to be there for them in that hour. And I also think it's really cool the people that do upkeep on cemeteries. That would be, oh my gosh, that would be so cool. I love cemeteries. I've always loved cemeteries ever since I was a kid. I would love to spend so much of my time like cutting the grass in a cemetery, throwing away old flowers, putting new flowers in. That would be super awesome. Then of course I talked about being a director and about making horror films, and a lot of that stemmed from spending time in cemeteries as a young child. From 8 on to, gosh, I still go to, there's a cemetery 9 blocks from the house that I still walk to, and I sit and I hang out there. But I'd spend a lot of time in cemeteries doing filming with my Barbies and having zombies rise up from the grave, spraying fake blood on tombstones. That, well, I didn't realize that that wasn't a legal thing that you could do. I remember Grandma pouring Mountain Dew all over a tombstone to get the blood off. Anyway, horror films, zombie films in particular, The Thing, Lake Mungo, Night of the Living Dead. These are in my top 10, but these are 3 of my favorite horror films in my top 10 that I think do an amazing job of creating tension and atmosphere and like good scares. Those are the kinds of movies that I would like to make, but unfortunately Hollywood is a corrupt cesspool of sin and Satan. I'm probably the only person that's ever seriously attempted to be a writer without reading very much. I don't like to read. I am reading the Bible currently, the most important thing I think to read, and it's really hard for me to do. Of course, like, I've read this book here, and I'm at the beginning of this book, and I've read like a chapter of this book, but that's about as far as I get in a book. And these are not books that you would read necessarily to improve your writing skill or even to get lost in a fictional world, because they're like, you know, not that kind of book. But I still love the idea of being able to create your own worlds and characters, and it's a way to do that without being in Hollywood or going anywhere near that filth. Jobs I've actually had consist of working at the Register News, doing inserts in the paper manually because their machine did not work, and I did that for 2 weeks when I was 17. I applied for a job at Bilo, the grocery store. I'm glad that I didn't get that. And for 2 days I was trained to do a paper route, and that was a freaking nightmare. The pay was awful, and having to memorize all the streets and the addresses was not gonna be worth it. So I called the guy on like the 3rd day and I was like, dude, I'm out. If Tucker Carlson does happen to see this and he is looking for someone to cut his hair, I will get a job and find a way to pay for school to learn how to cut hair just so I can cut his hair. And I will do it better than anyone else in the world could ever do it, because I will work so hard, countless hours, day and night, until I know how to just handle that beautiful head of hair. Or I could just be his professional head massager or hair massager. You know how sometimes when you're on TV and you've been on TV for a long time, I don't know what I'm talking about, but just go with it, and you just need, during a commercial break, you just need like a deep scalp massage. I'm sure that I would be good at that. That's all for now. Thanks for listening, and until next time.